Welcome, everybody. I don't know how many is going to be in the room and how many are going to be online. But we've got breakfast in the back if you want to help yourselves. We were having discussions throughout November about what we were going to do, and um, Andy's talk is going to be not the levers one that was claimed in the. But you've done that elsewhere, and you could probably point people towards.
Yep.
A different video of it. So
yeah,
this is going to be really cool. The idea was originally that we would do like something kind of like the state of BI with AI coming, or like what's the future of BI with all of this stuff. And so, anyways, I guess we'll get started. There's way more people online. And we've got a handful in the room. I'm still teaching here at the RU, so I'll jump in to say that still appreciate the RU. We've always been here since day one in 2020. Gosh, that was late 23 now that we started this. And I still teach here as a part-time lecturer. So I'm Patrick. If you don't know me, if you haven't been here to one of these yet, and I teach communications with data visualization. So, and one of my students is here. This is really great. River, great to see you. But we're grateful to have them as our hosts here in Portland, Maine. They are an extension of course, Northeastern University out of Boston. And when they came to this location, their mission was to sort of fill in any gaps that existed with the other universities that have already been here for a long-standing time. So USM and University of Maine, University of New England, where Agata taught for a long time. So they've come in and filled a lot of analytics gaps, project management, and even life sciences and stuff that you can see with the Jackson Laboratories on the second floor here. And if you've driven on 295, you've seen that the campus is coming quite along over at the old bean factory. I'm really pushing hard for a hard hat tour at some point in the winter to see if I can see what's going on over there because it's so interesting. Anyway, so we're grateful to have them as our host. And today we're also grateful to have two really cool speakers. You know, for everyone here today, you're so lucky to have them in person. You're going to get to ask them questions at Q&A. But these also go out as videos onto YouTube. And what I'm expecting is to be really eager to post these onto LinkedIn afterwards and have the two speakers interact with people in the comments on both YouTube and maybe LinkedIn elsewhere where we post these, because the talk that they're about to give is, I think, so relevant, and these two individuals have so much to say about it. I want to just take a moment to say, like, I might not have a career in data viz if not for Andy, and I don't know if he knows this, because we've sort of casually bumped into each other a couple of times through chart chat and interactions in the past. But of course, Andy's now ex-Tableau, but had been there for what, 14, 15 years. And I'll let you do that introduction. But just by way of that is like my journey. I started using Tableau back when it was numbers instead of years as far as versions. It was 2010, but I was using it as a tool. Like if Excel couldn't do something, we would resort to Tableau. And then the business I worked for in 2015 started to see the value of the business intelligence server component of it and put me in charge of building out our organization's like full suite of dashboards. And for the operations person, she was just like, every year I have to go talk to the COO and the board about what the state of the business is. Can we just have something that's not something we pull together through spreadsheets every year? And it was I was like, I'm not, well, Tableau maybe. And then they sent me to the Tableau conference for the first time, and seeing you on the Data Viz stage with Iron Viz, I should say, I was like sold, because then that became like the fun part of all of this. Is it's not just like a laborious mind-numbing kind of thing to put together dashboards is like, oh wait, there's like an actual element of fun to this and design. Like I come from, my background's theater, tech theater, and like building stuff is like, I like the aesthetic elements to it, and of course chart chat goes into so much of that, about what makes for a good chart and not, at times. So yeah, thank you to Andy and everyone over at, the Big Book of Dashboards. Jeff Schaefer brought us, I think you could credit him with the Flowlodge twins, uh, for, they worked for him over in Ohio, and like the network is just an incredibly powerful. Amanda McCulloch at Data Visualization Society, if you haven't availed yourself of that community, is really powerful, whether you're a newbie for training and all the rest. So I will stop there, to hand it over to Andy and let you guys hear him for the next hour and do some QA.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks, Patrick. And thanks for those kind words. I realized about 4 years ago, somebody was like, well, what's your mission, Andy? And I sort of realized that the BBC, which obviously I'm sure you know what the BBC is, but that's been around 100 years, and now founding director. So the BBC should be here to inform, educate, and entertain. And I sort of realized it's like, well, that's what I haven't strategically wanted to do that, but that's what I have wanted to do with everything I bring to work and the content that I make and how I interact with audiences and people, Tableau customers, obviously mostly for the last 15 years. And I was sort of guilty for a while of owning that word entertain, because you're like, oh, it's work environment, isn't it? It does, we're at work, we're not supposed to have fun at work. And eventually I was like, well, I'm here 8 hours a day. Why shouldn't I? And why shouldn't we? And so I kind of came to think it was a good motivator for me, and it was a good. It just seemed like a good mantra about life, right? The fun is okay, within reason and in appropriate places. But anyway, so thank you for those kind words. Let me share my screen. So hello everybody. Please use the chat window excessively. I want to see what you're thinking. As I go. In fact, I'm going to ask you a question which needs an answer in a minute. Also, I can only stay till about 10:15, maybe 10:30, so I'm not going to get all of Cooper's talk. Really sorry. Something is coming up at home. All right. I'm going to start with a question. If you've seen me talk, you may have seen this question before. I'm going to say something that I believe to be very true. Millions of dollars are spent yearly collecting data, with the expectation that the data will cause the correction of the conditions studied. It's a pretty good quote, right? With millions of dollars being spent every single year getting data, but having the data doesn't solve the problem. So, rhetorical question, do you agree or disagree with that? I generally find most people do. But the question I want an answer for is, what year do you think this quote is from? In what year did somebody say, millions of dollars are spent yearly collecting data with the expectation that having the data corrects the problems being studied? So people can shout out from the audience, or Patrick, you can relay answers, and people on chat. What do you think?
I would bet you this is early on.
Meaning what?
Like and early on relative, right? Isn't that important? So like the analytics and enterprise analytics wave would have been around the cloud, cloud type of time, 2010, 2011.
2010, all right.
Even earlier than that is coming from the room.
Okay, I want a number from whoever said even earlier than that.
1980.
1980. And I've got Abhishek, 1980 with a smile on your face, because that's ridiculous. But Cooper has gone bold. That can't be true, can it? But it can be. This is 111 years old.
Oh my gosh.
What the hell? It comes from this book, Graphic Methods for Presenting Facts, written by Willard Copeland. It's crazy. Page 1. That's page 1 of this book. He's like, why are we wasting millions of dollars on data and not doing anything with it? And it's a very good question. So in the book, he talks about He says pie charts should be banished to the scrap heap. So we knew that 100 years ago. We talked about lovely ways of expressing data and presenting it. And if you have a Hollerith tabulating machine, if you can see it just here, you could process 3,000 records per hour. So even the age of big data, that was 110 years ago as well, right? So here's the crazy thing. Is that a crisis? Should that put us all in existential crisis? Because I've spent 15 years hawking Tableau as the best thing ever. And yet, here's the problem. Turns out Brinton was facing the same problem. So here is how I've reconciled myself to the fact that this is an eternal problem. Right. So over 100 years, let's start, say, from Brinton. We have just always been amassing more and more data. On top of that, vendors and bright people have been putting technology on top of that in order to process data. That puts us into the age of dashboards. ClickView, Tableau, Power BI, Looker, etc. That's been like the latest wave of innovation in this field. Now, we're not doing a history talk today, but we could go back to the 18th century. We could go back to 19th century. We could go back to the 18th century. We could even go back to cuneiform, right? The first time human beings wrote on clay with sticks, they were collecting some data and adapting the technology they had, right? Which has meant that all along that time, there's been this frontier of the technology and data gap. And then on top of that, what Brinton was writing about 100 years ago is, but I've got better ideas than what we can do with the data, right? So there's this concept that wherever we are in humanity, technology and data always outstrips ideas. And here we are in 2025 going, ooh, generative AI, it's the revolution. Is it? Is technology and data going to expand to fill the gap between where ideas go? I'll give my short answer in a minute. But right, so that's where I'm going to be exploring for the rest of the session. Patrick's largely given me the introduction there. Yeah, I've been at Tableau 15 years, which is amazing. I started using Tableau in version 3, which puts me in a very small cohort these days. So that was 2007. And obviously Tableau enabled me to have an incredible career and then just meet and enjoy interacting with tens of thousands of people. 2016, we did Big Book of Dashboards. And this year out came Dashboards That Deliver. And in this one, we really focused on a development framework inspired by Agile and design frameworks to think, well, how do you plan, build, and maintain data applications? So we're really delighted to have that out in the world. Also, in the last 5 or 3 or 4 years, I've been doing loads of AI exploration, trying to work out, do these LLM things do what their marketing claims promise? Can they do data analysis? Because they all claim they can. So we shall see. So there you go. Has AI killed dashboards? And I'm going to talk about why the title is specifically killed dashboards in a minute, but no, they haven't, right? That's not really a good enough answer for a Tableau user group, so let me spend some time elaborating on that. Before we start, right, I've written 2 books about dashboards. Clearly, I love them, right? But I am not naive enough to recognize that a dashboard is also a bottleneck, right? Anytime a user has a question, and they have to log on to Tableau server, click the filters, drill down, export the image, put it somewhere they want to, and then make a decision. That is a bottleneck, right? And the best designed dashboard in the world is a bottleneck. But is this faster and better? That's what we're also going to explore today. It seems to me when I speak to CEOs, CFOs, and some CDOs, they think this is the solution to employing analysts and implementing dashboards. Well, let's see what we think. So I've just mentioned, are dashboards perfect? No, they aren't, right? We did some research at the start of writing Dashboards That Deliver about whether dashboards succeed or not. So, yes or no. Patrick, I'm going to choose you as the spokesman for everybody here. Do most dashboards fail?
Oh, just the ones that make it to prod? Or, yeah, I mean, if you include the dev and the test and all that, yeah. for sure. But
Right.
the point is that mostly they don't get built to answer. They answer very specific business questions,
Yeah.
and then what they really are like ad hoc analyses that don't ever get referenced again.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good answer. Right. Okay. That's a really good, that's actually a great answer. We surveyed how many people answered. Oh, I don't have the N on here. Oh yeah, 465 people answered our question, and most agreed that most dashboards fail. Which, given that most of our network is people who probably bought the big book of dashboards, is a slightly depressing answer. But that's what we are fighting against. And why is that, right? As I think you've alluded to there, Patrick, maybe it isn't the dashboard. Maybe it's the culture. One of the contributors to those cultures is vendors. I am now free to say what I think about what Tableau marketing talks about. I mean, I love Tableau marketing. I was in Tableau marketing since 2013, but vendors, oh my God, they make it all sound so easy. Look at the Power BI is easy. Share with a click. AI-driven action, search for insights, the way you'd ask any colleague a question. My God, who wouldn't buy into that, right? So we as vendors, or they as vendors now, build this culture as easy. We also create too much friction. There's too much friction. So it might not be the dashboards. It could just be friction. Here is a sad story of when I was working with a Tableau customer who is one of the departments in the UK government. And they were building Tableau, and over time they were like, look, Andy, we saw more and more people coming to the Tableau server. We were building these intro dashboards to get people build a bit of a data culture, and we were beginning to start then building the second generation of dashboards. So we were seeing loads and loads of traction. And then they said, but Andy, it all came to a crashing end. And it's like a story of woe because, Andy, something happened in May. Would anybody like to guess what might have happened in May to pretty much kill people visiting the Tableau server?
What
What
year
might
is
have
that?
happened? Oh, this it's an arbitrary that
Oh,
isn't relevant to that's not relevant. But they're using Tableau server.
uh,
The year doesn't influence. Well, I suppose it does strictly, but
they got their first quarter year-end results, and
no, no,
or summer.
no. All right, it was multi-factor authentication.
Oh,
The IT team saw this thing on the network that was getting successful and went, "Oh, we'd better lock that down." So you all need to do two-factor authentication. So all the users had to do was use their password and then authenticate on their phone. Adding that authentication on their phone killed the project dead. They abandoned. They didn't continue with the project, and so it's not that the dashboards failed. It's that the whole system failed, right? The whole infrastructure was a failure. And I'm not here saying don't build a secure environment because one needs a secure environment. But if the security kills the project, that's clearly a disaster, right? So in that case, failure isn't necessarily because of the dashboards. The other thing we found as we researched this was people start too soon. So here's the framework that we've put into dashboards to deliver. You start with a Spark, talk a lot to your users, do some development, talking to your users, release, adopt, and enhance, and go around again, or kill it, right? You might end it. What we found is that a lot of people just skip the conversations too quickly, and they don't actually do deep enough research to for dashboard success, right? So, and that's certainly something I was guilty of many years ago when I was a data analyst. The other thing is sometimes dashboards fail because they are just bad. All right, everyone, you're about to see a genuine dashboard built by a colleague of mine and Tableau Marketing. They were asked to show a KPI tracking dashboard, and they built this. Right now, all the KPIs are there, but there's no information. Right, it's just noise. So this was a failure because that person didn't understand about layout, storytelling, summarizing, or anything, right? So they could be slow, they could be incomplete, they could be bad. So if most dashboards fail, then the message I'm hearing more and more, AI is gonna fix it all. So If dashboards are failing, is AI going to come to the rescue? Everyone is saying AI replaces well, maybe not everybody is saying it, but I hear this in a lot of places. Where do I hear this? I hear this in startups. Loads of startups. There are gazillions of startups trying to wrap AI around data connections in order to come up with a new revolution, right? So this one was iGenius. They were early in the game, December 2022. ThoughtSpot have a brilliant marketing campaign. Dashboards that are dead. I think it's a great marketing campaign. ThoughtSpot, natural language exploration and analytics of data. But if you go to ThoughtSpot's homepage and watch their intro to ThoughtSpot video, they say, you might ask a question and get a chart you want to save for later. If you do, right click on it and save it to a live board. Live boards are what we call dashboards. I'm like, all right, ThoughtSpot, I see what you did there, right? So dashboards are dead, long live live boards. It's fine. But even at Tableau, I would hear this all the time. One of the main sales leaders, when we launched Tableau Pulse, they launched Tableau Pulse. Sales leaders, I heard it with Tableau Pulse. We no longer need to develop dashboards. Now, Pulse is pretty good. I do like the concept of metrics. I think Tableau Pulse is a feature or a part of the platform that is evolving well. And if you have the right use case, it can be really successful. And what's interesting here is the person said no longer need to develop dashboards. And that's interesting because if you look at a Pulse screen, it's a couple of big ass numbers. It's some line charts with indicators and contextual information telling you what's going on. I mean, that literally is a dashboard, isn't it? But there, the development tool is designing that dashboard for you. So you better hope that they're doing a good job, because if they aren't, they're not doing it. So is AI to the rescue? No, AI is not to the rescue. Here is my contrary opinion that, in my experience, trying to use AI to do data analysis, I've found that AI promises the world, but so far it lacks several vital things like speed, context, accuracy, and threaded conversations. And at this point, as I go through this, if you're disagreeing with me, shout out or say something in chat, because I'm sharing my opinions and my experience, and I'm aware that I haven't seen or played with everything. So AI lacks speed. What do I mean by this? This was a great post by Zach recently. If dashboards are dead, why do we use them every day, right? This is really useful, condensed information available at a glance. It's a dashboard on your wrist. This is really useful information displayed rapidly for instant consumption. If you replaced one of these, as you approached a speed driving trap, you could see the policeman with the camera and said, oh, am I driving too fast to go through the speed trap? And then you just waited for 15 seconds for it to go, oh, you're driving too fast, and then give you some sycophantic response. But by that which time you've driven past it, right? So that's not good. That's no good. I can see Jonathan Drummy is typing something, so I expect this is going to be this might be an argument I can't put down. Anyway, I look forward to what you're typing, Jonathan.
I'll just jump on the mic.
Oh yeah, go ahead, please do.
Yep. Hey, Andy.
Hey.
Yeah, it's one of my first questions for people with AI is kind of like, is this better as a dashboard?
That's great. Yeah.
This what you just put on the screen is a fantastic one.
But this one, the car one,
the
or
departures
the one
board.
why
should I have to type in something and wait a while when I could be late to my plane?
Yeah. So this is a satisfaction dashboard at Heathrow. I'm not going to play the video right now, but if you want to see customer satisfaction, then they could have put a kiosk and you type in a question, or you could just get that information straight away. So we don't need to listen to Andy today. So there are situations when AI is clearly faster, right? If you know the questions you need answered and you need to see the answers quickly and regularly, then generative AI is just too slow. It's too slow. Or it might give you that sense of power, but it isn't fast enough. Secondly, I think this is one that I generally think if this could be solved, then AI is going to get a huge amount better, right? But AI lacks the context. What are the circumstances for setting a statement? One of the manifestations of this is a concept I really love from Ethan Mollick. He's at the Wharton School of Management, I think that's the name, and he writes about AI's impact on business. And he talks about this concept called the jagged frontier. So imagine you have your world knowledge, right? And imagine this is a fortress, and outside the fortress wall. So there's things that you need to do. Things that you can do are inside your fortress wall, right? So creating a Tableau dashboard is pretty easy for me. That I know where that is inside my fortress. But writing a complex SQL statement, well, I can't really do that anymore because I haven't done that for about 25 years. So that's hard, or I just can't do it. But I know where my own frontier is. Brilliant. But how has AI changed that? Well, the frontier of knowledge is completely jagged. There are things that LLMs and AI can do that absolutely blow our minds, right? Make a picture of a cat jumping on a trampoline in space. Well, it's not even physically possible, is it? But anyway, right? It's incredible. But then there are things that it can't do, which are blindingly obvious, like count the number of letter R in strawberry. And you're like, how can it be so stupid? So it has this jagged frontier, but the challenge is that frontier is invisible with LLMs. We don't know where it is, right? So it creates it can create a very frustrating experience. And if your data is not set up with enough context, then if you ask tell me about plane departures at Heathrow, well, how does it know the nuance and the context of what you've asked? So the jagged frontier is a really interesting concept. I think, go read the Ethan Mollick. And it's down to, where is the context in your organization? Am I going to talk about semantics? I don't have my, this doesn't, I've got a whole deeper talk about semantics. We can talk about that if you want at the end of this. It also lacks accuracy, and this has been the one that is the killer for me. This is a very simple data set I've used for about 10 years just to be like, well, which is the right chart for this data? Is a line chart the best way to show data? But this is a simple data set. I can ask ChatGPT, this was just before 5 came out, make me a chart showing sales over time. And this is genuinely the chart that ChatGPT created. Now, as Patrick was talking about, we're very, our visual system is easy to sway if something looks pretty, right? And this is a curvy line, the colors are nice, so it looks all right. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this to my boss, Jonathan. All right, well, we had 3 peaks of sales at the start, in the middle, and at the end of the year. Brilliant. But I made this data set. So I looked at this and I was like, well, hang on. When I draw this in Tableau, both lines should kind of go up because that's what I made the data set do. And I had to go and then back to ChatGPT and prompt it and say, what have you actually done here? And what it had actually done was shown the months in alphabetical order. It didn't, and I had to get it to reveal this version. It didn't show me that. And it's like, what on earth are you doing? How can you do this? And this was an Excel file with those dates as date formats, right? So that this has just knocked me for 6, because I'm like, if ChatGPT makes mistakes like that, that's really atrocious. So it took me a few more prompts to get it right, and then it makes what is a pretty chart. But I don't trust it, and I'm a data professional, right? And imagine a real data set. A lot of people say, well, look, if it's just using the language part of its reasoning, then it might make mistakes. So long as it's writing script, so it won't make those mistakes. But this example was a Python script generated chart. So it wrote the Python that sorted the data wrong. we don't have the luxury that when we are analyzing data, we actually know what the data says. So anybody playing with that data set without knowing what the data is wouldn't have seen that error. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression, says Jonathan. That's great. Tableau Tim on his channel, he articulated it in a slightly different way, Jonathan. He said, as data analysts, it has taken us years, decades to build trust. But trust can be destroyed in milliseconds, right? And then you're back to square one. So this one still sits really heavily with me. Number one, threading. Here we go. So ChatGPT, OpenAI, when they created ChatGPT, they didn't have any concept of product management or product ideas. So they went, oh, well, we've got this LLM. We'll just give people a text box. Be fine. Only a few people will use this, right? And then that text box was enough for 100 million people to download and use it, and it to become the fastest growing app ever. But it means ever since then, everybody has been stuck on the same paradigm. You have a single threaded chat interface. Any of you on this call who have been doing data exploratory analysis know that you don't do that in a single thread. Sometimes like, oh, that looks cool, I'm going to explore over there, or what's happening over there, and then at some point you might be like, oh, but we were talking about this 5 minutes ago, can I come back to this point? And you can't do that. You cannot do that in these interfaces. You just end up with a really long thread, and you sort of say, can we go back 10 steps? And you can't. It's very frustrating. Real data analysis is like this. This is the cycle of visual analysis from Tableau. It's messy. It's unpredictable. And that's what Tableau enabled in a way that no other product did it pre-AI. And I've yet to see one that really does it well post-AI. I'm also going to throw in at this point that is AI coming to the rescue? AI is a revolutionary technology for sure, but it has a dark side, and we should not ever ignore that, right? It is an environmental disaster. We're seeing the concentration of power and capital in the hands of just a very few exceptionally rich, unelected CEOs. They're stealing intellectual property, and they're exploiting low-paid individuals from the southern world in order to make LLMs safe for us in the West. And so we'll just say that if AI is going to come to the rescue, we need to regulate the heck out of it. And if you want to dig into that a bit more, Empire of AI by Karen Howe might shake your foundations and expectations like it did when I read it earlier this year. Excellent, excellent book. So is AI to the rescue? It might be, but it's got those significant problems. Right. So far, I've talked for about 20 minutes and I've just been negative Nelly, right? Oh, it's all doom and gloom, Andy? Well, no, it's not. It is a revolutionary technology. So how do we get the best out of AI? What do we invest in? Every time I go on Teams recently, I get a real lag in presentation. Anyway, hopefully everything's keeping good. You invest in, I haven't blitzed, humans, right? It's really quite straightforward. I was at a conference in Serbia, in Belgrade, in Serbia. 2,000 people at a data conference in Serbia. It was amazing. And it was remarkable how many presentations there were about exceptional data engineering flows that people are building with AI. I mean, I was genuinely blown away. But it's just hilarious how labor intensive they all are. And we were fed this promise that AI would save us money. It's like, no, you need better data engineers to build these incredible flows. So humans are our solution, as always. We can I've completely forgot what I say to this slide. What shall I say to this slide? Yes, we have to get over what the vendors say. They're still hawking this AI freedom and liberation, but I mean, you particularly need a lot of people working on your semantic layer to get it right. You've got to start investing in your framework. As Patrick said at the start, why do dashboards fail? It's because we don't engage the users. We create one-off dashboards. We never throw them away. We don't build on things. This is obviously something Jonathan knows deeply as well. Yeah, so one example in the framework that, this was Amanda's edition, I think is really good, is we took the double diamond concept from the Design Council, which is really about expanding out to get as go and speak to the users. You cannot beat speaking to users. As you do brainstorm visual ideas, you can use AI to start wireframing and prototyping, but you've still got to get that human input. We've got loads of great examples in the book about how that framework has been applied in real world situation. The other problem I talked about was reducing friction. Can we reduce friction? We did the two-factor authentication way. What's a human way of reducing friction? And I'll share, this is a chapter, one of the chapters I wrote for the big book of dashboards that didn't make it was about how crisis text lines share their information to their users. So Crisis Text Line is a great company in the US that does emergency counseling to people in, having severe mental health crises, genuinely often suicide risks. So they do the counseling over message and WhatsApp. And, an organization like that needs rapid response. They can't be wasting time finding information, because that time might literally be the difference between life and death of somebody in crisis. And Bob Philbin, who is at Crisis Text Line, did something pretty revolutionary with their BI use. So here's the chapter I wrote. That is the Word document that never got turned into a big book of dashboards chapter. But here's their dashboard. And you might look at that and go, it's just numbers, Andy. Not only is it just numbers, it's numbers in Slack, right? What, text message? A text message in Slack. You're calling that a dashboard, are you, Andy Cotgreave? And I'm like, yes, I am. So basically, there's a bot. You can call up the bot with a /bot command at any time and see the KPIs of the organization. Counselors, quality, wait time, vital KPIs for that organization to run. In the end, Steve and Jeff convinced me this pushed the definition slightly too far for us to include in the book. Steve was particularly uncomfortable about it being a dashboard. He's like, but are the numbers good or bad, Andy? Are they good or bad? So I was like, well, maybe if Bob just did this, now we can see if the numbers are good or bad, right? We indicate which ones are bad. Is this a dashboard? Is it a dashboard? Ooh, and Steve was always of the impression that we are chart builders. Andy Cotgreave, Jeff Shaver, Steve Wexler, we build charts. So charts are inherently better. This isn't supposed to be a great chart version. It's just a chart of those numbers, but it's not up to us. But I made this point, and this was the point Bob Philbin realized at Crisis Text Line. In order to build charts that get served into Slack or Teams, you need a database containing your data. You need a code and script that then sends information to a charting engine, Tableau or HighCharts or Flourish, which then creates charts, which then gets sent to Slack, right? That's how you build this process. So that takes time, resources, and money. Crisis Text Line is not an organization flooded with cash. So he realized text is faster and text is cheaper, because if you're just sending a text message to something, you no longer need that license for HighCharts, Tableau, or Flourish or something, because you're not sending charts. So you actually cut that out of the loop, saving time, money, and resources. You don't eliminate it, but you save all of those things. And so I share that as a really human innovation about reducing friction. AI doesn't solve this for you, but I think it's a friction reducing solution that is genius. All right. And finally, invest as if there are applications, right? This dashboard is just bad, but if you teach your humans how to think about user interfaces, how to think about usability, how to think about as designers, then you get better results. So 3 chapters in the book, one from The Economist, E3CI, and Info Topics, are all examples that really focus on thinking of these assets as applications that need application level of investment. I'll come back to that comment in a minute. So, am I AI? I almost feel like I should ask you to decide if I am against AI before I answer the question myself. Am I against AI? Well, the answer is no. It's incredible. AI is revolutionary with these ethical challenges. I've used AI to do some really good prototyping. So here's an example in the book. If you just type in a user story into Claude saying, here's my use case, this is what I want a dashboard to do, then it will mock you up a dashboard that, I mean, amazingly looks pretty much like the one I'd already built, right? So I think there's some really good potential for AI as an assistant. I'm also using, the tools are maturing. I'm working with a company called Vizu at the moment, who are a small AI analytics startup in Switzerland. They genuinely are giving me the closest experience to being a Tableau user as I build dashboards with them. I think they're a really interesting company. I'm not going to play it now, but I used Vizu and some Billboard Hot 100 data to give me prompts that I could put into Suno to make crazy number ones of any year. There are thousands of startups trying to come up with the sweet new way of applying AI. I don't think anyone's quite cracked it yet. It might take a while. So, has AI killed dashboards? That's the question I've been trying to ask. I think we know what the answer was. Vendors make things sound too easy. AI is, oh, God, come on. Sorry, my slides are now broken completely. I'm just going to skip to the end. No, it hasn't, because of the things we looked at. Is AI coming to the rescue? It has its problems. AI is certainly a new toolkit for us to use, but it's not going to eliminate dashboards, I don't think, for any long time in the near future. And at that point, I feel it looks like I've gone 3 minutes over my expected time. So I'm happy to take some questions.
All right.
And thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, I see, Patrick, you said good enough is not something I hear often in BI dev design discussions. What do you mean by that comment, Patrick?
With the text kind of thing is like, I think, so like I have a little bit of a background in real estate, and there's this concept of good enough as well, where
like
if you're renting out an apartment and it's in a certain neighborhood, you want to put in granite countertops and stainless steel appliances and drop lighting and all the rest. But then if it's in another neighborhood, you might realistically put in something that you get from Home Depot and to use as a cabinet for the kitchen, and what will make it make sense for the rent and the kind of thing
exactly.
is what
yeah
we're
I'm not sure if did I use the words good enough, or did you did I say the words
that's
good
what
enough?
Yeah,
right, because I don't even, I think in this case it's not even a case of being a good, it's I think this is perfect, right? Because they had a small enough company that anybody in the organization knew if 267 was good or bad, right? So you don't need, if you have that luxury of training your users, you don't even need, for a fast overview, you don't need to look back. Jonathan, yes, a dashboard is a visual display of data to monitor conditions or facilitate understanding. That's the dashboard definition from Big Book of Dashboards. And yeah, I made the case that does the right job for that audience, and it does it cheaply. AI will reshape the Kanban board, says Cooper, sorry. Yes, it might. Patrick, Power BI has PBIP, a code-friendly format, but Tableau's TWIB. Oh, that's a great question. Tableau's TWIB was formerly written in XML. My first ever Tableau conference talk, maybe you remember it, Jonathan, was about hacking the TWB file. And that went down well. But I was told by the engineers, it's like, but we don't have a defined structure. I was at a Tableau event in London this week where there were a bunch of execs and developers. They recognize that if we want to succeed, if Tableau wants to succeed in the MCP world, then the definition of Tableau workbook has to be defined. And they have formally set a definition of what a TWIB file is. It's now a JSON file. I think it might have been a JSON file for a while, but anyway, it will become a JSON file. And that means the MCP or whatever protocol comes next can read and write to Tableau workbooks. And suddenly that opens up having a proper cursor environment. So you're just describing what you want the code to be, and it will build that on the fly in the workbook view. I think they're still in pretty early days with that, but I'm delighted that after 22 years, they finally formally defined the workbook format. People, your second question. At a scale of 10 plus data sources, 100 plus departments, and 1,000 metrics, what is the biggest challenge for a semantic layer? I think that there's kind of a concept, there's a semantic gap, right? I'm an analyst who likes making pictures. So I am not the person to get excited about semantic layers. I find it is the most boring prospect of work that I could ever imagine doing, right? Because it's just not in my nature to want to spend that time doing it. However, it's one of the most important things to do. I mean, in Brinton, in that book from 110 years ago, he's like, you've got to define your business before you can get any further. And he described methods of doing that. So it's always been important, but now because AI lacks nuance and context, it's more important than ever. And so it's like, so business definitions and knowledge or ontologies just change over time, right? So we just imagine this is change over time. If you do nothing and just use the default, whatever the AI thinks sales or profit means, then your gap is going to be enormous. If you invest hugely, you'll do pretty well, but there'll always be a gap because there'll always be Jonathan in sales who's got his Google sheet that actually defines half the business, or the new CMO wanted to redefine the KPIs, but it's going to take 6 months to catch up in the project, right? So I also think the challenge for people defining semantics is it's an endless race. Is it Sisyphus? Was it who always had to push the boulder up the hill? So there's a massive cost of not investing, but it's not something you're ever going to solve. The other aspect of that, Cooper, is with really good governance. If you can look at who's building what across all your Tableau workbooks or whatever system you're using, you can see all the calculations they're building, and that's right on the right-hand edge of the data stack, and you can consolidate them and move them leftwards towards the data layer over time. I was chatting to Rob Radburn. He's trying to do that at Leicester County Council. And again, that's hard, thankless work. Nobody thanks you for that work, but they don't recognise that makes things faster. Anyway, it's a great question. Now, almost all BI vendors add AI features. From what you see, which ones truly change user behavior and which are mainly defensive so the product doesn't look behind?
Oh.
I'm pausing because I'm trying to come up with a feature I've seen from a mainstream vendor that actually works.
I haven't spent much time with the Copilot in Power BI, but I've seen videos of it being used, and like those are encouraging. But it's very specific tasks that I like. They do take time. They do take up time of an analyst's day, but like, I don't know. Again, it's like, would I immediately jump to it? Maybe if you're a more junior person, that's a really great way to get into it and dip your toe. But then it's all of a sudden, what you're doing, and then you are more comfortable just kind of, I don't know.
I think got it. In my time working on the Tableau agent, the one that sits alongside sort of the desktop view, it's pretty good at writing calculations, but you could spend, the time you've waited for 25 prompts to get answered when you're trying to build charts through the agent, you could have just built them yourself, or you could have learned how to build them yourself, and then the answer, and you'd be faster. I think a lot of the major vendors are doing things very defensively, and they're at best building things that work 70% of the time at best, and that lack of, because 30% of the time it doesn't work, it's a disaster. I think well, to lengthen the anecdote, I remember 20 years ago when Tableau was a little minnow in the Gartner quadrant, the BI quadrant. There was the leaders and the executors, Oracle, etc. And 20 years ago, they laughed at Tableau. They're like, you can ignore it. They went to customers, you can ignore Tableau. It's a toy that just does this thing. It's okay, but they don't do anything else. And it was right. We didn't. We just did drag and drop. But that drag and drop was so damn good, we disrupted the entire industry, right? And everybody copied us. Now Tableau's in this position, laughing at the little minnows, and they're going, "Oh, they're only doing one little thing." But somebody, I think the space is for somebody. The space is right for some company to work out the one little solution that'll eventually disrupt us all. And I think we're going to go through a trough of AI disillusionment before we get there.
Got to kiss a lot of toads before you get the prince.
Yes. I think the economy is teetering on the edge right now because of overhype around AI. Yes, Jonathan, it has been challenging for a very, very long time. It's been fun. It's been fun if you're a hacker mentality, because you can just roll with the punches, but you can't formally do anything. All right. Any more questions? Don't know. Don't know when we will be able to see if TWIB will become JSON. It was, I mean, I don't even know if it was told to me, and it shouldn't be public. So, hey, don't tell anybody. Shh.
We've got a question from the room.
Andy, I'd like to know, what is your wish for all of this particular tools, and what do you wish could be available now?
That is a really good. So who asked that question?
I'm Dan Griffin in the room.
All right. Well, thanks for the question. My overarching wish is for politicians to regulate better, and for capitalism to be somewhat more redistributive. So that's the more fundamental wish. From within the realms of analytics tools, if you look at my post on LinkedIn, I did a recently I did a post about assessing how I'm going to assess AI-based analytics tools. I don't know if I can find it on LinkedIn. I can't find it, right? And it's based on a brilliant paper by Anna Crisson and Matt Hong. So essentially, I'm writing on the coattails of her work. I found it. So I'll put a link to this in chat. But essentially, this is saying things we're trying to do as exploratory data analyst. We're trying to edit, direct, enrich, and I forget the other one now. But if I can find an AI tool that does all four of those, we'll have won, or we'll be successful. So yeah, go check that link here.
Sounds good. Well, got another one from the audience.
Hi, Andy. I am one of Patrick's students here in the room. And so he's talked with us quite a bit about this, but I was going to ask you the same question. What advice would you give to early career folks right now? I have been working for 5 or 6 years and came to Patrick's program because I realized a lot of what I was doing was data viz and analytics, and it wasn't called that. But we're at this interesting junction where I'm trying to understand what skills I should really be focusing on honing versus what things you think may be coming outdated, and kind of where you see the frontier. Someone in their early career is in a great position to identify those disruptions. So what advice would you give to someone like me?
That is a great, and what was your name?
My name is River Humphrey.
River, hello, nice to meet you. Thank you for the question. So I think prior to the disruption from AI, easy advice would be practice, build a public portfolio of your failures and your successes, so that you can see your own progression, and you are showing, a learning of the craft, right? The craft of data communication is an art and a science. So you can execute code, but learning that language and the semantics, as in the visual semantics, the visual grammar, that's a skill that just comes trying by doing, right? It's how artists get good, because they draw lines and lines and lines, and they get good at that, right? I think when you start digging into some of the challenges around vibe coding, it's like, oh, vibe coding is great, but now we've got a bunch of code we can't maintain, and we haven't got the people who know how to maintain code. So I think in the disruption we're going through, you still need to know how the fundamentals of this of the field in order to be able to successfully critically look at AI outputs, whether that's visual analysis or data analysis or data engineering. I wonder, and it's something I've heard a bunch of people say, it could be that the data analyst role gets squeezed in the next few years, because I see a lot of data analysts move, they know, well, we know some codes, so they're moving towards data engineering. And if data analysis becomes easier by natural language, then maybe a lot of the tasks we used to do as analysts could actually be done by the business users. That, I don't like saying that because I don't really want that to be a truth. That could be a thing. Beyond that, I struggle with an answer, River. Hopefully that's enough of an answer. The disruption is changing things hugely, right? And I don't know what the future lies.
You had a good slide that I would have wanted to use in class for describing what I think is going to happen, because it's the development process slide that shows, you know, you get Spark and then you go through the ideation and et cetera. I think that AI is going to take over the clicking, the tedium of building dashboards in the center part, and yes, put it back into the business. Yes, exactly. So the business users, like the CMO and the CFO and all the other people who know the business really well, are going to get to be the ones building stuff with prompts in AI. But then there's going to be this part at the beginning that like analysts need to be involved with. Business analysis will become way more important, because the blank page problem of AI is like, oh sure, then put that big blank box in front of everybody and ask them to, you know, you've got all the data in the world, ask it what you want, and they won't know what to ask. So you have to kind of curate and put options in like a menu at a restaurant in front of them and say, like, here's some of the things you could offer. And then that's the part in the beginning. And then at the end, there's like a whole validation component, the QA component of this, which used to be the analysts, like, we're just like, oh, we'll do a little bit of that at the end and then push it out to prod, is like, AI, can we trust it? And that becomes way more important. And the analyst's role is going to be like, well, can we G this up against a SQL database, or somehow prove that the AI that the business users are doing is right, and that like nobody is conflicting with each other, so that two people, VPs, don't walk into the COO's office and give them competing answers.
I'm sorry. I'd also add, River. Sorry, Patrick. I didn't mean to interrupt. No,
that's all I had.
Right. This post, I've just put the link in. It's really interesting. So Kieran, he's making a point here. It's like you can write a single prompt which will vibe code an entire application, and then you'll be like, "What the hell happened?" Right? It kind of looks good, but it'll be messy. And he was like, he's talking about how he's used some other people's courses he did was, well, actually, don't just do AI to do everything in one go. Do it incrementally. So from a vibe coding perspective, get it to write each bit of code incrementally. Right now, I think this could be a good thing, River, because there you're developing the skills and structures of how to build a dashboard, but you're using your skills to get the coding apps to write the code, but you're kind of going, give me a grid, now give me colors, now put a chart here, now put a chart there. And so I think I'd go read this post, because that's quite an interesting way of, it could be that this is one of the futures. You need to know how to orchestrate the AIs by being an expert to get the best result out of it.
All right.
And I feel like I'm now eating into Cooper's time. So
I know, I was going to say, as a host, I would be better off. So we'll do a 5-minute quick quick break and then come back. I know Andy has to jump. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining us here on the East Coast time from the UK.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Do follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll see you all soon. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't stay, Keeper. I'm sorry. Hope the talk's okay. All right.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cooper. I work in BI development and data analysis, mainly with Tableau. I've been exploring how to use AI to convert Tableau dashboards into Power BI dashboards, and how to design dashboards in more code-first way. Today, I'd like to show some of this work and also ask a few hard. So my sharing many speak less, mainly some reasonable explanation and cloud code case demonstration. And I use Gemini and cloud code every day. So Patrick, you can play the video now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just add too. So I met Cooper yesterday in Teams, but I saw him for the first time. LinkedIn brought him to my attention. We weren't connected originally. He was on my newsfeed, but because of hashtags and other things was brought to my attention, and the work he was doing to show how you could use AI, specifically Gemini, to take Tableau dashboards and translate them into Power BI is something that blew my mind. Was like, I think that Salesforce and Microsoft and others have this idea that their customers are very sticky because it is huge pain to take something that's already been built and move it over. But actually, as Andy pointed out earlier, dashboards get built and then they get published and then they get used for like a brief window and then they crash as far as usage. So I already had a sense that might not be true in the first place. Like if you're being realistic, you might just be able to cut over to a new product in the first place, but it's still a lot of time to build out. Like I worked for a company that went from Looker to Power BI, and it's an ordeal. We paid a lot of consultants a lot of money to do that work. He's going to show you an automated way with this video. So I'm going to share my screen and stop talking. This is pretty cool. The video will be about 34 minutes, and it has captions.
大家好，欢迎来到我的分享。我是库珀尔文华，来自于中国四川成都，也就是那一个熊猫的故乡。那么今天我要给大家带来的分享，主要是如何用 AI 帮助我们把 Tableau 看板转为 Power BI 看板。那么这里大家可以看到有一个括号，括号的话主要是说文件格式。OK， 咱们的文件格式的话，从 Tableau 的文件格式是 TWB， 它的本质上来说是一个 XML 文件，然后 PBIP 的话是 Power BI 最近支持的一个新的特性，它允许大家用 JSON 这些格式的代码去定义咱们的看板。关于 PBIP 的话，我推荐大家看一下这两个官方文档，说明了 PBIP 是什么，以及怎么去组织咱们的 Power BI 看板通过 PBIP 的形式。那么一个典型的一个结构，大家可以下载官方的一些案例，再保存为 PBIP 就可以看到。大家注意到这里的结构，它像这些文件夹的话，就是定义了书签以及每一页由来可视化。 包括它的数据连接。那么当然最好的文档还是在官方，所以这里就不进一步的展开了。那么我们首先来开始吧。这里的话主要有两个案例。那么第一个案例的话是我们熟悉的超市数据的一个看板。那这里首先这个看板总体来说是比较简单的，它有 KPI、有地图、有面积图，然后是筛选器和图例。那么我通过 AI， 主要是用的 Cloud Code 去帮我们进行转换之后，它得到的样子是这个大家可以看到它的整个还原度还是比较高的。从样式上来看的话，因为各个平台的样式稍微有一点不一样嘛，所以样式上来说是已经非常还原了。然后我们注意到，我们除了样式之外，我们需要注意这些结果是不是一样的，因为这两个看板都是连接的同一个本地的 Excel 数据源，所以理论上来说，它们的筛选器保持一致之后，条件也应该是一致的。所以我们可以注意到这些数字比如说这里的quantity，它的数据是2280这里的话也是对应的是一样的，所以我们可以认为这个转换的过程相对来说还是比较成功的，有80%-90%的内容已经被转换了。那有些区别的地方就是说，我们很明显的看到地图的这个样式会有一些差异，以及下面的面积图，这里其实还有一个类型的区分。但是 Power BI 里面的话，它就是用的这3条线去表达的。然后我们再看另一个案例吧，因为可能超市数据，大家会怀疑它已经提前被人研究过了。那我们来看一下，Patrick 给我的一个学生作业的案例，我比较喜欢这个案例，因为它的结构比较清晰，元素比较齐全。那这里的话也主要是有一个标题，有一个 KPI，有一个条形图、折线图和闪点图。那咱们通过 Power BI 去转换，最终的一个效果是这样。OK， 从样式上来看，包括颜色，我们都基本上是保持了一致。那我们同样的把筛选条件设置为一样之后，我们再看一下这些数据是不是也是对应的。这里可以看到是1.54，这里是1.54，这里是39697，这里是45度，就是这么多。所以我们可以简单的来总结，目前的话就是从 Tableau 转为 Power BI， 因为 Power BI 的那个 PBIP 这一个格式，它是通过那个阶层代码去呈现的，像这种文件代码形式是 AI 非常擅长的，所以然后那个 Tableau 它本身也是 XML 语言去定义他们的这些看法，所以简单的来说，只要是涉及到文本代码形式的 AI 都会非常擅长，所以这个也给我们的一些工作带来了便利。那么未来是不是可以通过 AI 去直接去提需求，让它去做看板呢？我觉得是有可能的。除了这个案例之外，我再给大家补充一个案例，就是我把这个 Power BI 的这个看板给 Tableau 给那个 AI 看了之后，让它再生成一个 Streamlit 的看板，那么这里就是它的一个效果图了。我们也可以看到这个样式和数据都是跟我们的Tableau 看板和 Power BI 看板保持一致的，包括这些数据颜色以及形式，我觉得这个还原度也是很高的。整个过程的话，其实我觉得差不多就是10来分钟的时间，它就可以把那个 Power BI 转为这个 Streamlit 看板。那么后面的话，我有一个详细的实操的案例的讲解，那 那么现在的话，还是主要给大家分享一些概念。OK， 这里是案例，案例的话，我们展示了大概2-3个案例。然后的话就是，其实我觉得像这个转换的过程有一点像翻译。那么翻译的话，我们需要考虑什么？需要考虑一个看板其实它是由哪些部分组成的呢？那么我这里总结的话，其实是有差不多6个部分。第一个部分的话就是，我们每一个看板，它首先它用的是哪一个数据源？那这里的数据源的话是在我们本地的一个数据源。我们像这个第一个超市数据的话，就是在本地的一个超市数据，它是一个 Excel 文件嘛，可以大概给大家看一下。然后第二部分的话就是布局。布局的话就是说咱们这个看板它是由哪几个模块去构成的。这里的话其实主要有一个标题，有一个 KPI， 有一个地图，有2个面积图左右排布。然后在这里的话就是它的筛选器和图例。那么我们在布局构思好之后，我们再去做对应的可视化，或者是说在 Tableau 里面它叫工作表嘛。那么在这两个板块的话，就分别是标题和这个 KPI。这里的话是地图可视化。可视化做完之后的话，我们要去定义它的这个样式，包括那个字体的大小，或者是这些细票图的大小和颜色。样式设计完之后的话，我们再去实现它的这个交互功能的话，就有这些联动效果以及它的筛选器等等。然后最后一个模块的话就是它的元数据。元数据的话就可以理解为它的一个文件属性啊，或者是一些标题，这些可能就是不是很容易能直观的看得到的一些东西。那么像这6个组件，Tableau 就会用那个 AI 就会分别的去翻译，再去做转换。转换的时候，它会遵守我们像 Power BI 的话是有一些非常规范的文档，它告诉你这些东西去怎么去构成。那大概就是这6个组件。那么我们这里也会做一些实际的一些代码的演示了。这里的话就是说我说的这6个组件。那在 Tableau 里面的话，它是通过这样子去定义的。在 Power BI 的话，它是主要是通过那个 JSON 文件去定义的。OK， 那么我们继续一个一个的看吧。那么像第一个板块的话，就是那个数据连接部分。那在 Tableau 里面的话，它是通过 XML 语言去，类似于这种语言去定义的。因为大家可能知道这个 TWB 格式，它实际上是一个 XML 语言的格式。我们可以把这个文件改成 XML， 打开它也是完全呈现出这些内容，是不会就是非常容易理解这一点。OK， 然后像那个我们的这个超市的这个看板的话，它实际上它连接的地方就是在这一行。这一行定义了我们这一个连接，它是通过那个 Excel 形式去连接的。然后它连接的数据是在本地目录的这一个文件。那么在 Power BI 的话，它是通过写一个 DMDL 这个格式的一个文件，去定义它的一些不管是计算还有数据的话，这里就是在这个地方，这里它选择的是 import 模式，再去定义它的一个数据。这里数据连接就是通过这样的语法去写。大家可以看到它这里的这个连接的文件都是同一个文件。那么第二步的话就是我们说的布局。布局方面的话，其实这里是说的这个 overview 这个看板，说的是这一个看板。给大家看一下，就是这里这个看板。 这个看板它是有哪些就是有哪些模块，还在 Tableau 里面它是就是有一个元素，它说了它的一个它的位置，说了 x、y 轴的位置以及它的一个大小，包括它里面它有哪些工作表，这里就是它的工作表，给大家看一下对应的工作表的话就是这一个sales by segment。那就是 Tableau 的一个定义布局的方式。那在 Power BI 里面，其实大家看阶层，其实可能会更容易让人类去理解吧。对，所以它这里也是说了它的 x、y 轴的位置，以及它的高度和宽度，以及它可视化的一个样式，它是一个面积图。那么就是布局方面的话，就是这个样子。再往后的话是那个可视化。可视化在 Tableau 里面的话，它是这样子去定义的。这里的话也是一个面积图嘛 ，Sales by Product， 它对应的是我们的这一个工作表。这个工作表的话，它其实就说了这个工作表它用了哪些字段，这个字段的类型是怎样，以及它用的这个是它用的是什么标记？这个标记是用的是面积图。那么在 Power BI 里面的话，它是通过这样子的语法去定义的。它这里也说了它的用了哪些字段，它有那个category， 还有它的 serials， 还有它的 y， 还有它的 y 轴。这个的话是会对应的是说 Power BI 特定的一个语法。我们其实不需要额外的去关心它的这些语法，因为现在 AI 能非常方便的去搞定这些定义，并且帮我们翻译嘛。那么第4部分的话就是它的交互。那交互的话，这里其实它像 Tableau 这里的话，其实它说的是有一个下拉框嘛。然后 Power BI 的话，它这里面它也是说了这些交互，它是需要一个下拉框。第5部分的话就是它的样式了。样式的话，这里其实它就说了，我举例来说的话，这一部分它主要是定义了那个字体大小。这里 Power BI 的话也是做一个字体大小。最后一部分的话是元数据。元数据的话，其实包括我们这个标题是去怎样定义的。那么其实AI 它能帮助我们像这种具体化的程序化的编码型的工作的话，他们是非常擅长的。所以我们搞清楚了它的原理之后的话，用 AI 去辅助我们去做这个工作就会更加容易一点，因为我们对一个看板的还原度，我觉得也主要是从这些部分去看嘛。那么这部分的话，就是我讲的一个原理性的一个东西。那么后面的话，我会给大家带来1-2个案例，就是实际的过程，我怎样通过 Cloud Code 去把我们的 Power BI 看板转为我们把我们的 Tableau 看板转为 Power BI 看板，以及我的提示词是怎样写的，以及我怎么去调试。因为 AI 的话，就是它很多时候不是一步成功的。那这里其实主要有2-3个原则，我给大家分享一下。就是首先的话是你需要有一个足够的上下文，这是我整个项目的一个目录。上下文的话，我会给它一个 Markdown 格式的文档，这个就是我从官方文档拿来的，我会让他参考这个文档，以及我还给了他一个官方的那个 Power BI 看板的PBIP 格式的案例这里面就有他容易理解的一些东西，比如说我们这些有哪些页面，以及我有哪些可视化。那么我把这些东西给他之后，AI 能更好的去完成我们的任务。 那么接下来的时间的话，我就给大家带来一两个实际的案例，就怎么用 Cloud Code 去转换我们的看板。OK， 那我们继续。
Wow.
So this is the troubleshooting part. Two filters are missing. Remember to close Power BI each time. After Claude finishes. Looks like the filters are there now.
So there I compare the origin version file to cloud code write the file. So
Yep. Looks like some of the colors are still a little bit off. I'll have to ask him if this video is sped up or if he's doing this all as quickly as it looks, because it's so fast. Yes, if there's links, I can send them as part of the, yeah, afterwards.
in fact, I used 13 times say narration to skip this cloud code encoding process.
Okay. Yes. It does look like it's, yeah.
As Andy said, the current AI is not fast enough.
Yes.
Now we use cloud to aid a new model.
More requirements.
This kind of small requirement can be implemented very quickly.
It seems like it. Yeah, it's very fast. Pouncing must be a Gemini term. I've never seen it instead of saying executing, it says pouncing. That's funny. Like a tiger.
And then I will convert the Power BI to Streamlit.
Okay, so all of what we've seen so far is from Tableau to Power BI. Now it's going to be from Power BI to Streamlit, which is a Snowflake kind of concept for apps. That was a second LinkedIn thing that I saw entirely someone else doing, and then was like, could this possibly be the same thing? Like, could you create a universal dongle that, effectively lets you do one to this, to this, to this? And apparently, because he's broken it down into the elements, like the data structure, format, calculations, like it's the various parts that I know from the XML file using that in Tableau, but each of these products have those same things.
I think they will be difficult because the code is is not easy.
Yes.
Especially it's difficult to decode the format of Tableau.
If they switch to JSON, will that make it easier?
Sure. I want to say the JSON.
Yeah, that'll be cool when it comes out. I don't know much about Streamlit. This is it's something that like, I know Snowflake in general. I didn't realize that they did like front end type of work. I thought they were mostly cloud and like data semantic model type stuff. I didn't realize they extended themselves into something like this. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yes, it's fast, very fast. I use Streamlit very not usually, but as long as AI knows it, it's very easy.
In my mind, it feels
And
kind of like an analog to D3 almost, where like you could be coding charts and graphs for web-based mobile applications without having to embed like a Tableau or a Power BI type of workbook.
yes, but it's more like a BI and as Streamlit.
Yes.
And D3 most like the database.
Yeah, Snowflake being a database. Oh, okay. Consistent with Tableau. Yeah, Snowflake being a database primarily. This is so funny too, River. This is one of the groups that our class put together, right? The group 4 or whatever did fit check. I'm gonna have to specifically send this video over to them to let them see how it was used. He wanted something more sophisticated than Superstore sales in Tableau is the like base dashboard.
Yes, yes, you should do it.
This group did such a good job. I was impressed.
Yes, I love them work too. And I'm debugging. Yes.
Yep. Percolating. Oh, is that all? That's the end.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And everyone online, I'll switch back to the important thing here is that I'm going to turn on the language so that closed captioning is on. And I'll have the mic. Are there questions for Cooper? Questions on the chat or in the room?
So, Cooper, I guess just kind of following up on what we heard earlier today about the potential move to a JSON background for these DWB. How do you see that affecting this process?
I think it would be easier to use AI to code if the JSON format were open, because, for example, Power BI uses the JSON format. Is that what you meant? And at the same time, with JSON, its structures would be easier to break down, because, for example, Tableau's TWB format puts all 6 of the components I just mentioned into one file, making it very difficult to write code. Is that correct?
Okay. So it's clear.
Yeah, he's following. I wanted to bring it back to something you had said, Cooper, in this email about Kieran's post being a powerful proof of a trend I've been experiencing firsthand. AI is fundamentally changing our industry, and everyone must learn to leverage it to enhance their work. Do you want to maybe add to this, or I can certainly send this. This was his thoughts on the post we saw around the Snowflake Streamlit kinds of stuff. But yeah, this is especially like the licensing thing at the bottom here. I thought this is going to be really interesting.
So this file is before I use it. It will be in VS Code like this. So you can see there so many times. It's 2,000 and 300. So there is a function I always use. It's Gemini. I can upload the file to Gemini and let him to explain the TWB file like this. I will show you. So we just upload the file and show me the layout and calculate the fields like this. And Gemini will understand the HTML file. In fact, the TWB is a HTML file. So he analyzing and will answer the question. Let me see. So you can see he almost understand the field, and you can see KPI. This is KPI.
Yeah.
And I always use the function like this. Show me layout. Use the just like this. Show me layout. Show me layout. Like use. So you can
wow.
here almost understand the layout. So you can ask Gemini all your question.
That's so cool.
Yes. We should use the AI tool to solve our program every day, I think.
Absolutely. Wow. So just to because we're coming up on time, this is I find this really fascinating and valuable, and hugely disruptive to potentially the executives who think that their customers are going to remain their customers because they've already invested so much with Tableau or whatever tool they're using. Andy gave a kind of, I would say, more cloudy look on AI, and was a little bit more reluctant to say AI is a positive thing. He's skeptical, but obviously Cooper is saying that the last thing he said was we should use AI to solve all of our problems. With Gemini, it's so interesting to see how these tools can be used. The concrete tasks where it's text to text, where it's taking one thing that exists in the Tableau XML or TWB file, whatever, and finding that exact same thing in Power BI and using that analog to create the equivalent thing automatically. How many clicks would you have to do in Power BI?
Patrick, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Kind of set me up perfectly for it. This is really interesting to see what we're able to do with the conversion of the dash. The other component for us, at least in my organization, that was really important is converting the prep flow products, hypers or whatever they're called,
okay,
to whatever the Power BI analog is. So has Cooper done any work related to that, or?
I'll type it in. The question is from the audience, and we'll end here, is can this also be used for .hyper and data connections? I think, I would imagine, I don't know what format the hyper file takes.
Well, so I would be interested in maybe not using the hyper, but using the TFL, the flow, and converting that Yeah, I
TFL
went to what is that, DAX? I forget what
to DAX. Actually, there's something else that exists in Power BI's world. That's a good question. So is it possible to also use this to convert the like data model underneath?
Oh, I understand. I think it isn't a program because the connection we use the Excel file now, but you should give a AI how to connect hyper or the data source. Then they can do this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, a lot of what we're doing within our organization now is bringing everything into a flow as a custom SQL query, not doing any kind of cleaning or transformation.
Okay.
All that's happening. And, yeah.
Oh, I understand you. So you mean how to connect my data source even it have customer circle. Is it clear?
I think so. How to connect? Go ahead.
I will show you. Let me show you again. There are two we web coding to make it, and then click flow analyzer there. Then I browser my GFL file like this, and you can see the tool shows the connection relationship, and there have customer circle. Just click there, and those information we can give it to Gemini to understand how the data collection. Is it clear?
Yeah, he's smiling and nodding. It's he's
And
he,
you can say the query is the customer circle. There.
amazing.
And yes, we can download JSON. AI could understand the JSON. We can open the JSON to see like this. Yeah. So we got the orange information. There is a customer circle.
Ooh. All right, we've got two happy customers here. It sounds like you just made their lives much easier.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I love these moments where we're making a difference. Okay, cool. I'll cut it there. Thank you so much, Cooper, for joining us. I know it's late your time, but I really appreciate it. And I will circulate not only the video, it's going to take a bit to get the video up, and then the PowerPoint and the links all will go out to anyone who attended today and registered with the Bevy event. Thanks to Andy as well, wherever he's gone off to. And we'll be back in 2026 with hopefully more speakers. I'll just leave it here for anyone who's still with us online and in the room. Like these events, I have my network and I can tap into like stuff that is interesting, but please bring us ideas if you want to speak or know someone who's working on something cool. I'm about to meet somebody who's working with Portland's transit data and the ferries that we're going to try and do like a live where is every bus and ferry map kind of thing for people to use when they're traveling in town. But I don't know if that'll yield something visual, but these things are they're really cool. I don't know what level of like. Sometimes you want to make it really local to Portland, and sometimes you want to make it like clearly today's is like. I think this event would be interesting to anyone who's working in data, and I'm gonna try to work with the Tableau people to blast it out.
Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. I add additional want to say something.
Go ahead.
And all my work, I will upload GitHub, and you can. Yes. So I think the important thing for AI is this field to tell AI how my sex components work. So you can give this field to AI to understand the work. And there are docs because AI could understand any language, so the Chinese docs is okay, and the so I want to share you the GitHub or yes.
Absolutely. Thanks from the room. I'll get that from you, and we'll send it out as one big wrap up email. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Enjoy and have happy holidays and the rest of the year. We'll be back in 26. Talk to you later, Cooper.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you all.